Good evening and welcome to this year's Zurich Portrait Prize award ceremony for 2021. My name is Quibo McNumara and I will be the Master of Ceremonies for this evening's event. I'm delighted that you can all join us virtually for this National Gallery of Ireland event, and a warm welcome to you all out there in the world, wherever you are joining us. This evening, we're going to hear from Sean Rainbird, the Director of the National Gallery of Ireland, Neil Freshwater, CEO of Zurich Insurance plc, and Sean Kissan, Curator of Exhibitions at the Irish Museum of Modern Art. Sean is also a member of our panel of judges this year. But first, we're going to welcome our 24 brilliant shortlisted artists who are here virtually tonight. Thank you all for coming along. You can give us a wave, say hello. There they all are. We're going to hear from all of them because we've pre-recorded some videos, and in these short clips we will hear from all the shortlisted artists in this year's competition, and they will talk about their work and what inspired that piece. But in our first video, we are going to hear from the curator of the exhibition this year, and that's Sarah McAuliffe. Sarah's going to talk about the layout of the works, the choices involved, and the various themes in this year's Zurich Portrait Prize.
My name is Sarah McAuliffe and I am the Curatorial Fellow at the National Gallery of Ireland. Since 2018, I've been working on the Zurich Portrait Prize, and each year I administer the competition and also work on curating the exhibition of the shortlisted artists. It's really wonderful seeing all the submissions come in and learning more about contemporary practices around portraiture each year, and I love working closely then with the shortlisted artists on the exhibition and also on the publication that we produce in association with the show. What I think is really brilliant for all of those shortlisted artists is the amazing opportunities that they get from having their work displayed in the National Gallery. For many, this could be an acquisition or a really important commission, and also for many artists, they've had solo exhibitions in Ireland and abroad after having their work shown in the Portrait Prize. It is also really brilliant for the National Gallery to be able to display new perspectives and interpretations of what portraiture is each year. I think what's really important to that is the fact that the competition is open to all media. So you have examples of photography, video, collage, digital art, sculpture, painting every year. And this really expands the interpretations and definition of what portraiture is. So every year we show the Zurich Portrait Prize in the gallery's Portrait Gallery, which is a really important space for us. The portrait collection has been developing since the 1800s, so it's really interesting to be able to show contemporary portraiture in that space. And while it is a historic gallery, there is always room for some level of intervention. For instance, we introduced a false wall last year, and for me, this really acts as a pause as opposed to a stop between the Zurich Young Portrait Prize and the adult version of the competition. And it really promotes people to kind of flow through the space and make their own connections between the Young Prize and the Adult Prize. When it comes to curating the space then and the artworks that are shortlisted, I really try to look at the various themes and subjects that are depicted in each work and then see what kind of resonances can be drawn between them, and that's how I really kind of lay out the space. So I won't really put paintings with paintings or photography with photography, although that does happen at times. I look more for what kind of conversations can come out of certain pairings, and I try to create interesting pathways throughout the exhibition that will prompt visitors to really engage with the artworks on display. Each year we open submissions to the Zurich Portrait Prize in April, and while I look after each submission coming in, it's really up to a brilliant and knowledgeable panel of judges to select the shortlist, which is usually around 24 to 25 artists each year, and then to select the overall winner and 2 highly commended artists. So we really benefit very much from their knowledge, expertise, and support every year, and alongside the unwavering interest of Zurich Insurance as well. What is really wonderful about the Zurich Portrait Prize is that it underlines just how subjective art is, and that is why we have a really diverse shortlist of artworks every year and why you see so many different names of artists represented in each shortlist. As part of that, we change up the judging panel each year to make the process as fair as possible and to have people from different backgrounds, professional and personal, really speak to their views on what portraiture is. We're really looking forward to inviting our visitors to come see this year's Zurich Portrait Prize on display in the Portrait Gallery, and we do hope that some of those visitors might be inspired to apply themselves next year. Remember that this competition is open to both professional and non-professional artists. You can be working on the island of Ireland or an Irish citizen abroad, and we would just love to learn about your specific skill and interest in portraiture.
Very good. The exhibition curator, Sarah McAuliffe, there explaining how this year's show came together. We're now going to watch our first video this evening featuring our shortlisted artists. In this piece, 8 of the artists will talk about their work in the exhibition.
Hi, I'm Serena Caulfield, and my portrait is called Dad 5-10-20. So I made this portrait after visiting my dad, who's in a nursing home, and it was the first visit I'd had with him for months during lockdown. The title actually comes from the date that the portrait was made and the first visit, but also that kind of idea that it was 5-minute visits, then 10-minute visits, and then this one was a 20-minute visit. It just happened to coincide with the date. And I thought if I could feel that much emotion seeing him for the first time in 20 minutes, then I could just pour it into a painting.
My name is Kerry Clark, and the portrait I painted this year and entered is of my eldest son-in-law, David Somerville. All the family met for Christmas 2019 in New York, and I was reminded then that I hadn't painted David, that I'd painted and drawn every other member of the family. And so I said, well, okay, I'd better change that. And when we came back to Ireland, I asked David to come to my studio, and we started about mid-January. It was probably end of March by the time I finished it.
My name is Molly Douthit. The title of my piece is Life in Lockdown, Part 4, Laying on my kitchen floor to stave off a migraine. I was feeling the onset of a migraine, and I knew I had energy in me to paint. The only way to settle that was to foresee what would calm me down. So I painted my future self laying on the kitchen floor with a lavender eye mask, trying to calm myself down.
My name is Lizzie Downs, and my portrait is called Inside. This is a portrait of my son Finn. For me, it's a kind of time capsule because it documents travel between uncertain states, and in the mood, in Finn's posture and expression, there is wariness, but also hope.
My name is Sarah Doyle, and my piece is called Portrait of the President of Ireland, Michael D. Higgins. We made the portrait in Dublin in late 2018 during the campaign for the President's second term. I like the contrast of the more formal portrait scene with the in-between moment, the President fixing his glasses. It feels human and tender. With portraiture, it's so interesting, even in a set-up environment, there's something real happening. It was a special moment during a special time with a very special person, and I feel very fortunate to have been able to capture it.
My name is Gowan Dunn, and my painting is I Love You Boy. I painted this painting of my son from a photograph I had where he has this collection of pieces of clothing from his grandparents, and I wanted it to represent both my absolute wonder of him and also my kind of fear for him going into this new and turbulent world, and also how he fits into his environment in that world.
My name is Beverly Healy, and my portrait is called Looking for Gold. There's an emphasis on light and dark in this painting. On the one level, the light and the dark is reflecting the spiritual nature of the work. It's of my husband, and he is what I would call a truth seeker. So the light and dark is reflecting that. And in another level, and a more abstract level, it's the joy of the light across the face using the light, the colour, the brush strokes, the egg tempera, and enjoying the paint. I've close cropped it so that it brings you into the moment. There's an intimacy in the work with that, and that it's a smaller size. It brings you into the moment so you can enjoy the moment of that painting.
My name is Vanessa Jones, and my painting in the Zurich Portrait Prize is Cabbage Baby. My daughter as a cabbage in the painting is a nod to fermentation and nurture, kimchi and sauerkraut. It's a personal, maternal, even mitochondrial connection with my mother and myself and my daughter.
So that was 8 of our shortlisted artists there. We will hear from the other exhibitors as the evening progresses. At this stage of proceedings, I would now like to invite Sean Rainbird, the director of the National Gallery of Ireland, to say a few words. Over to you, Sean.
Thank you very much indeed, Cuivon, and can I add my welcome to everyone this evening. The exhibition, as you see, is hanging on the walls, and I very much hope that everyone will come at some point to the gallery. We're open, we're very much welcoming people in, and it's a very joyous occasion, whether it's here or Sean could say the same thing about Emma, one of our panelists who will be speaking later. It's a really extraordinary year, actually, for this Portrait Prize. And just in the first video of the 8 artists, we see how valuable it is that people have drawn closer to friends and family, particularly after they've been held distant from them through the various accidents and restrictions that we've all had to attend to over this time, and various states of mind, from the mysteries of how we understand they may be our children, they may be our best friends, or some of the fears that we have, perhaps for people who are older than us, perhaps for people who are younger. What world are the young going into? And I think all of these tensions and pressures and fears and hopes have really found their expression in many of the works on display, as well as the extraordinary creativity that people show every year in the Portrait Prize. I think it's a really extraordinary year again. It's a process that starts, of course, with the people who submit the work, and then the panel of judges create the long lists and then discuss that and shape an exhibition out of the long list by creating a short list. And that is what you see on the walls of the gallery. And of course, every single year we have a different panel of judges, and that means that you'll get a different set of viewpoints, and how those judges interact with each other, what their discussions lead to, is very much what happens every year in a slightly different way. There is no objectivity in that process. It's the way several minds and the people with their experience and expertise and what they bring to it, their own creativity, is what happens in that sort of alchemy of selection. And I think at the root of it, the judges know full well that it's not a fair process. You're not comparing chalk and cheese. It just doesn't work that way. And all artists are very individual and individualistic. But it is a wonderful process to see happen, particularly to bring onto the walls of the gallery. And we're able to do that because of the fundamental support. The foundation of it all is the support we have from Zurich. And I'm really delighted to see Neil Freshwater on the call, and he'll be talking to us later on. Zurich support has really sustained the prize. We've added the Younger Prize in the last 2 or 3 years. And it's also under his watch that we've seen the prize go from Dublin down to our colleagues in Cork at the Crawford Art Gallery after it closes in Dublin. And I'm delighted that Mary McCarthy and her team have welcomed this exhibition with open arms, as they have done. Of course, I've mentioned the judges. I mentioned Sean Kissand, who will speak to us later, but also Roisin Kennedy and Eamon Doyle, last year's winner, who have really put their heads together and put the hard work in and had those discussions to work out who they're going to make as the highly commended and the overall winner of this particular prize. It's a difficult process, but I think they fully appreciate the work that we heard from Sarah McAuliffe earlier on, and she did a stellar job on the hang. It's a wonderful experience to walk through the galleries. And of course, with the curators, she's supported by Brendan Rooney, the head curator, and Mia and Neve are the two exhibition curators who help with this. And of course, what we're doing here tonight, we're supported by our development team, Claire and Maria, and of course, comms with Kate. And of course, there are so many other people involved at the gallery. I just wanted to mention those few names. But ultimately, none of this would happen if it were not for the artists. And if you're not going to make work and not going to submit it, then we don't have a Zurich Portrait Prize. We have nothing on our walls to show. And it really is a great privilege to be able to put your works on display, but also for all of the other artists who made it onto a long list, or the other artists who submitted work and they weren't selected this year. We've actually had quite a few artists who've submitted work on multiple years and often made it through. And so it's always worthwhile trying, I would say, because you never know what's going to happen next time if it didn't happen for you this time. But it is an astonishing hundreds of artists who put in for the prize. And these last 2 years have been very particular, particularly last year. And I think we'll see how things develop and what exercises our attention and what grabs our mind and our eyes in future years. But without the creativity of the artists, I think we would not be where we are today. So it is really a great honour for the National Gallery of Ireland to be hosting this year's Zurich Portrait Prize. And I thank you all for the hard work and the wonderful creativity you've all put in for all of your entries. And I will now hand back to Caoimhín. Many thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Sean. Sean Rainbow there, Director of the National Gallery of Ireland. We're now going to look at our second video piece featuring 8 more of our shortlisted artists.
My name is Dragana Jurišić. My portrait is titled Though He Sleeps. The work was created this year. Actually, I moved to rural Wicklow after a lifetime of living in the city centers usually. And it's a departure from my normal practice, which is usually rooted in documentary and political issues. And it's more playful, more intuitive. And I guess it talks about return to nature and kind of being part of the system and needing it to reset oneself back to original parameters.
I'm Paul McCormack, and my piece is Portrait of Catherine Corliss, historian and human rights activist. Catherine is a very famous historian who uncovered the terrible, terrible tragedy of 796 unaccounted for babies in a Tuamudran baby home. I photographed her, and then I was happy with the photographs. I painted her from photographs in my studio in Dublin.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Mayhew, and my artwork is All I Could Do Was Sit and Collect Dust. I was working in my childhood bedroom, and I was surrounded by all this information, all these books, all the different things that have made up my life and my way of thinking for years. Everything collects dust, and when I'm stressed, I kind of tend to pull up my beard, and all these hairs got discarded. So after the first few months of lockdown, I had this accumulation of dust. My DNA is included on the hair, so it's all the information accumulated about me. In some ways, this isn't just a portrait of me, but a portrait of everybody, as everyone can recognize the materials that are used, everyone understands hair, and no matter how we think it or how we want to believe, at some stage we're all going to turn back into dust.
My name is Tom McLean, and my portrait is called Note to Self. I made this portrait during lockdown, and I kind of wanted to represent different parts of myself. You'll notice the painting is very cluttered, very messy, very chaotic, which kind of represents my personality, but there's kind of like this underlying order within all the chaos as well.
My name is Cian McLaughlin, and my work is Lockdown 3. It was a self-portrait made earlier this year during the third lockdown. It's a visual record of a pretty bleak time, as it was for many people. The idea being in this portrait, it's not meant to be a very photorealistic image of myself, but more to give it the emotional quality of what I was going through at the time. So the eyes don't quite line up, the nostrils are all skewed, the ears aren't quite in line. So it's quite ambiguous as to what my emotions were at the time, but I think it does communicate, I think, what we were going through back then.
I'm Pooh Mendes. My portrait is called Bobby and Isaac. My portrait is of Isaac Nelson, the music man behind Bobby Basil and one half of the Being Boys podcast. It was kind of a gut instinct to ask Isaac to sit for me. We share a lot of the same viewpoints and values. I was drawn to his openness and honesty and how he advocates against toxic masculinity by sharing stories of his own struggles, resilience and successes.
My name is Nick Miller and the portrait is called Portrait of Patrick Hall, Painting. I've known Patrick for over 30 years. We're both painters and friends for that time. I've painted him many times, but COVID presented an opportunity for me to work with him each week over the last nearly 2 years now. It started as a way of bringing him his shopping and ended up as a kind of collaboration in the studio with him making his work and me making mine. The painting itself is kind of representative of what's going on. Patrick's in the studio working at his desk, and strangely, as you'll see, he paints ambidextrously. One hand, then the other, and then sometimes both together.
My name is Julia Mitchell and my painting is The Night of Kilcooley Abbey. What first drew me to the sculpture of the night at Kilcooley Abbey was the inclusion of the dog at his feet, an unexpected detail, endearing, relatable and also reassuring of a shared humanity, resilience and faith. The painting of my husband, including familiar details from home, overlaps with elements of the sculpture in Abbey to suggest ongoing connections with other communities and traditions stretching back in time, with an overarching sense of peacefulness and rest.
Another fantastic collection of works. Now, since 2018, Zurich Insurance plc has been the title sponsor of the Portrait Prize, and with their support, the gallery can showcase contemporary art practice and encourage interest in portraiture. As Sean mentioned earlier, we're very grateful for this support. I would now like to invite Neil Freshwater, CEO of Zurich Insurance plc, to come to the virtual stage and say a few words. Neil.
Thank you, Caoimhín. It is my absolute pleasure to be with you tonight for the announcement of the winners of the 2021 Zurich Portrait Prize. Excuse me. While it would be great to be gathered in the showroom of the National Gallery of Ireland this evening, it does seem somehow fitting to be online together again. It's been another unusual year for us all, and I'm delighted that the gallery is now open to the public, where you can see the Zurich Portrait Prize on display in the Portrait Gallery. I'm sure that you will find inspiration in these remarkable artworks, as I have again this year. It is impressive to see how our shortlisted artists focus their creative energy during a challenging period. And I hope that seeing some of these works on display while we're still living with the pandemic will allow us to acknowledge and in future to be able to look back and remember the remarkable circumstance and range of emotions that we've experienced these past 20 months. As Sean knows, visiting the gallery to see the exhibition each November is one of the highlights of my year. The portraits come alive when you see them mounted on the gallery walls, instead of on a computer screen or in a catalogue. The variety of different materials used, the scale and the vibrancy of colours are all transformed through the sheer physicality of seeing the works in real life. But please don't just take my word for it. Do visit the gallery and see it for yourself. In addition to quite revealing self-portraits, beloved family members are widely represented, along with neighbours, friends and colleagues. It's lovely to see how a family relationship can be reflected through portraiture. The love between a parent and a child, for example, although I suspect that the relationship between family members is somewhat redefined as it becomes a relationship between artist and sitter. It is also wonderful to see portraits of important public figures on display in poses that are both immediately recognisable and instantly relatable. We at Zurich are incredibly proud of our support of the Portrait Prize. As well as celebrating portraiture in Ireland, the awards showcase the talent and excellence of contemporary artists. To see it go from strength to strength each year is extremely rewarding. My congratulations to the shortlisted artists and indeed to all the artists who submitted their works to the competition. You continue to challenge and impress us, and without you, this competition would not be possible. Lastly, my thanks also to Sean, Sarah, and the brilliant team at the National Gallery, and of course to the judges. I don't envy them. They're impossible task. So thank you all. Caoimhín, it's back to you.
Thank you, Neil. Neil Freshwater there, CEO of Zurich Insurance PLC. So now we're going to go to our final video featuring the shortlisted artists.
My name is Gráinne Maloney and my painting is Girl with Hen. Painting can be like magic. My role as an artist is to combine the elements, the essence of the sitter, the materials, and my own skills and vision. These elements combined, and when it works, can form something new with its own energy and its own spirit. This, to me, is what makes art exciting. And as an artist, it is a privilege to be part of that process.
My name is Emily O'Flynn and my piece is called Portrait of a Girl During a Pandemic. The whole thing is scuffed. There's no finesse to what I've presented. It's a series of selfies, a video montage of selfies that shows the highs and the lows throughout lockdown. When I took these, I never thought that anybody was going to see them, let alone that they'd be shown in the National Gallery and the Crawford Art Gallery. They're very personal images and I took them so I could remember.
I'm Conor O'Leary. Since our son Woody was born, I've been making work around family. The photograph of Fiona and Woody, Evening Light, was made on a warm evening when we returned home to rest before dinner. We were exhausted from the previous night's lack of sleep, as Woody was teething and had an unsettled night. Unaware I was making the portrait, Fiona stood holding Woody as the evening sunlight washed over them.
I'm Liz Purtell. I'm painting in the ancient medium of egg tempera at the moment. This portrait is of my husband Paulus, which I painted during the third lockdown, and I really wanted to show the fragility of life and give the painting a sense of introspection and sensitivity.
My name is Emma Roach and this painting is called Shower Painting 2 Self-Portrait. This is part of a series of paintings that were made in 2020 and 2021. The painting is made from acrylic paint, which I first of all line out the paint with a syringe, and once the lines are dry I peel them off and then knit them back together with knitting needles. It's quite a personal piece. It's based on a pregnant figure and it was made while I was pregnant in 2021.
My name is Salter of Lucan and my painting is Mi Ma Heala Me. It's a painting of my mom. My mom practices Reiki and sound healing, and I suppose I wanted to make a painting of my mom caring for me, so I used that as the sort of like the vehicle to get the message across.
My name is Brian Teeling and my portrait is called Declan Flynn in Dublin. This is a portrait of absence. Declan Flynn was murdered in a homophobic attack September 1982 in Fairview Park. His loss is greatly felt by his family and the wider LGBTQIA+ community.
Hi, I'm Riley Waite. In this painting, I portrayed my best friend in the aftermath of the loss of our childhood friend, Ian Brown. I used an impasto technique to build up the texture of the tree and then carved out his name in the bark as a memento to him.
So there you have it. We've heard from all the artists. It's now time to hear from our judges. Now, each year, 3 judges are invited to preside over the selection of a shortlist of 24 artists, the overall winner, and 2 highly commended works. The judges for this year's competition were the painter and photographer Eamon Doyle, the art historian, curator and lecturer Roisin Kennedy, and our next speaker, Sean Kissane, curator of exhibitions at the Irish Museum of Modern Art. I would now like to invite Sean Kissane to come to the virtual stage. Sean is going to say a few words and announce this year's winners. Sean, over to you.
Thank you, Caoimhín. So just first of all, on behalf of the judges, Roisin Kennedy and Eamon Doyle, I'd like to thank Sean and Sarah for the invitation to participate in the 2021 Zurich Portrait Prize. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the selection process, to announce the winners of the 3 prizes, and to outline some of the reasons for our decision as judges. So firstly, it's worth pointing out that this process happens blind. By that I mean that the judges are only given JPEGs or short video clips of the works that have been submitted by the artists. The idea here is that it's a level playing field for very established artists, young and emerging artists, or indeed artists who may not have practiced for a long time and have taken up a paintbrush again very recently. It has to be said that this isn't necessarily the best way to arrive at a shortlist, and it poses some challenges. Aside from perhaps works in video, very few artworks communicate well on screen. Paintings and certainly sculpture can suffer from this process. So we were very clear amongst our own conversations as judges that the decision about selecting a winner would be made in person and in conversation with the finished works in the gallery. And I have to say that we were very, very impressed as judges by the variety and the complexity of portraits that were presented to us. But it's also fair to say that each of our minds changed from the initial selection process to the moment in the gallery when we were confronted with the artworks in person. To let you know a little bit about us, the judges, Roisin Kennedy is an art historian, a lecturer at UCD, and a researcher and a writer of a number of significant books. Eamon Doyle is an internationally renowned photographer and a practicing artist whose distinctive style is immediately recognizable. And I myself am a curator of modern and contemporary art, primarily involved with exhibition making. So the three of us were coming from really quite different backgrounds. And this led to numerous debates about what each of us individually understood a portrait to be, how that might be expressed, and what the conceptual underpinnings of that might be as well. So as judges, we were conscious that our shortlisting process would have two outcomes. The first, of course, being the three prize winners that will be announced shortly, but also an exhibition that would be seen here in the National Gallery for a period of nearly 4 months, and then later at Cork at the Crawford Art Gallery. So to this end, the shortlisting process, we also had some curatorial concerns in mind. We wanted to make an interesting exhibition. So we were interested in making a complex presentation of what contemporary portraiture could be. We were interested in stretching the possibilities of the medium and the concept. And in this, we were delighted to see a full gamut of artworks presented, from academic works of tremendous technical virtuosity to works that stretched the possibility of the physical medium. In the case of one artist, one who extrudes the paint and knits with it, to another who sculpts with hair and dust and their very own DNA. In this year of COVID and of lockdowns, a very strong theme that came through was the importance of the close connections to friends and family. We see representations of friendship, of family ties, of motherhood and fatherhood. By contrast, there are also a number of portraits that focus on alienation and loneliness and the anxiety and mental health issues that lockdown amplified. One of the things that we all agreed on as judges was that a successful portrait should express the personality of the sitter. But in some cases, we also agreed that one could see the personality of the artist as well. And this is something that we very much leaned on as a concept for awarding the prize. So to that end, I would like to announce the first of the highly commended artists. And the first prize goes to Vanessa Jones. Hi, Vanessa. Congratulations. Would you like to make a comment?
I would like to say thank you. Thank you so much. I have my daughter here, my cabbage baby. Thank you to the judges and to Zurich in the National Gallery. Thank you.
Wonderful, congratulations. So the second of the two highly commended artists is Tom McLean. So congratulations, Tom. And would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, no, I'm in absolute shock. I'm delighted I painted this portrait during lockdown. I never expected to make it this far. So yeah, thank you so much to the judges and the National Gallery and everyone else in this room tonight. Congratulations, everyone.
So finally, to announce the winner of the 2021 Zurich Portrait Prize, it is Salvatore of Lucan. Hi, Salvatore. Would you like to make a comment? And congratulations.
I'm actually a bit shocked. No, I'm okay for a comment.
Okay, congratulations. Well done. So I would like to just maybe talk through our decision-making process a little bit, so that just to give you a sense of what we were thinking. So the first thing to note is that all three of the winners are younger generation, emerging artists, but they have made something very, very ambitious in scale and also execution for this competition. By coincidence, all three contain a self-portrait, but all three are also double portraits, which contain two figures. Each expresses a very, very personal and artistic subjectivity, and by coincidence, each has also made allegorical paintings that employ a diverse range of symbols to communicate a range of themes and interests. In the specific painting by Salvatore, it's a double portrait rather, of a mother and son, as well as being a self-portrait. The first thing to notice about it is the very, very unusual composition in which the floor has been skewed by 90 degrees. This compositional feature holds true except for some details, like the cat, who occupies the same space as the viewer, and the bottle of beer set behind the chest, which is similarly in focus. This small detail of the bottle of beer might give the viewer some clues as to why the patient is lying in a room that is spinning around him, and that his face is a deathly shade of grey. On the wall behind the figures, it contains numerous tools of the healer's trade. There are two gongs that create the sound, and the painter here has implied the sound by the purple shimmer that we see on the top right. We see the stereo, where we can hear the healing music. We can see the crystals renowned for their healing properties. And then there is incense burning on the plate, from which wisps of smoke move into the room above. Through the use of these symbols and devices, the artist has engaged many senses. We have sight, sound, smell, touch, and even the vestibular sense. That is the sense of movement and balance that tells the body where it is in space. Each of these details reveal themselves as one spends time with the work. It doesn't give itself away all at once, but it rewards time and study. In the background, there are some religious symbols, a mother and child, and an Egyptian ankh or key. So in this way, the painting borrows some of the symbolism of the representation of Christ and the Virgin, so we can consider the Pietà, the Deposition, or the Lamentation. The painter's mother is beautifully executed, and her concentration is palpable. But the naturalism ends there, as the artist plays with the body and anatomy. The mother's shoulder has been exaggerated so that it forms a continuum with the line of the reclining chair. Her lower body is entirely absent. It has been subsumed into the composition of the painting. The artist's shoulder, by contrast, has been forced into an awkward and pointy shape, and his arms stretched, exaggerated, and emaciated. All of these elements combine to elevate this painting into something really quite extraordinary and original. Finally, the judges are intrigued to know what Salvatore will do with a new commission that will form part of this prize. Congratulations, Salvatore, and to all the winners and to all the shortlisted artists.
Thank you very much indeed, Sean. That was Sean Kazan, Curator of Exhibitions at the Irish Museum of Modern Art and a member of our panel for this year. Congratulations as well to Salvador Fluken, the winner of this year's Zurich Portrait Prize 2021 for his portrait, Me Ma Healing Me. So a reminder before we finish up that this exhibition will be on display here at the gallery until the 3rd of April. After that, it's travelling to the Crawford Art Gallery in Cork, where it'll go on display from the 23rd of April to the 17th of July 2022. So that concludes our ceremony for this year. All that's left for me to do is to thank Sean Rainbird, Neil Freshwater and Sean Cassan for contributing to this evening's event. I'd also like to thank everyone who has contributed to make this virtual event possible. So have a lovely evening and goodbye for now.